This is 8 Minutes of Awesome. I'm Jennifer Lipsky. For the past 3 decades, Paul Zelizer has lived a life of service, helping people in different ways who are facing a variety of challenges, from small changes to big, big decisions. And Paul embraces each day with intention and focus and passion, and he helps others to do so as well. And I welcome today Paul Zelizer.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I love what you're doing here, and I really appreciate how you're doing it, even more than the what, how you're doing it. Just thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. It means so much. And I would like to ask, I know you, and I know that the work that you do is inherently part of you. I'd be interested to know at what point in your life did you know that you would be dedicating your life to be one of service, of helping others through challenges and transitions?
Hmm, that's a good question. I think it was a like an onion, except in reverse. Like building it up like a potter maybe would do a pot instead of not. I forget the kind of pottery it's called, where you add to something and build it up, right?
Mhm.
So very early on, I knew my dad he hated his work. It wasn't aligned at all. At one point, he was an accountant for Philip Morris. This was in the 70s when we knew that cigarettes were causing cancer. And they were hiding that fact. And I knew pretty young, like, I can't do that. I can't do work. I can't spend my days doing things that harms people and pretending that that's okay because I was getting a nice paycheck. Even almost before I was verbal, I had that sense there was something out of sorts for many of the men in my family and what they were doing for their livelihood. And it just, it built out from there as my spiritual practice became the North Star of my life at 17 due to some drug and alcohol issues when I was pretty clear that I didn't want to follow that path. And a mentor said, Paul, you're wired for poignant experiences. And he taught me about service and the power of service and as part of a spiritual path. And so, yeah, was it 6 months or 17 or 21 when I entered grad school and found the works of John Kabat-Zinn and other mindfulness teachers? It's hard to say, Jennifer. It's sort of that one of those beautiful potteries that are not scripted on a wheel, but imagined in a more organic and less scripted process. That's been my journey with health.
So it's been a building. It sounds like, and in that building, there's kind of an interesting dichotomy because we build, but also as we build, we also kind of unfold and open and open and open. And in doing so, that's a lot of transition, never really staying static, always, changing and stepping into each new day. And with those, there can be some challenges that come along. Not every day is really full of energy. Some days we really have to dig deep to kind of keep going through those challenges. So, what kind of advice would you give people who are coming up against some resistance or their own challenges? What would you suggest?
There's that TED Talk by Simon Sinek that talks about knowing your why. Why are you doing this? Why does Paul Zelizer get up and get out of bed and do the work that he's doing? Or why do I show up for my daughter's, poignant moments in her life, even if I have a headache or I'm on the verge of sickness? I go to our volleyball game anyway sometimes, right? So there's something about love in action. Ram Dass has a lot to say about this as a spiritual teacher. There's there's something about love in action that, as a parent, as a business owner who tries to walk the talk of what I teach my clients of steady, loving presence in the marketplace, that has landed as I've kind of found my way into my later 40s here now. It's in my cells that showing up and being present brings a tremendous amount of joy over the long haul. I mean, there's nothing like it on planet Earth, but that doesn't mean every moment is ha ha ha, the most amazing, oh my God, kind of a moment. Sometimes there's those moments of being a parent and your kid just threw up on you and there's a dirty diaper and you don't feel like it's the middle of the night and you don't feel like being there, and yet you choose to do that anyway as part of the practice of conscious parenting. You don't walk away from your child and say, it's the middle of the night and tough, you're sick, I'm tired. That's not how I want to be as a parent. And that frame of reference of showing up through time out of choice and out of love and out of service is just, it's part of who I am. It's part of the mentors who I've chosen. It's kind of embedded in my cells now.
Mm,
So that approach, just stop looking for every moment to be ha ha ha, awesome, and kind of fun, and really look for where's that deep why, really deep why that gets you out of bed in the morning with some juice of something's larger than I am. And I can't tell you what that is, but if you look for that, you're likely to find a more engaged life than if you don't look for that.
love in action, a beautiful phrase. Very, very powerful. And I know you have such a diverse experience that comes to you every day through your life and through the people with whom you work. And undoubtedly, um, it also kind of permits your own growth and your own um, way to go, well, aha, wow, that was an aha moment, right? And I'm wondering if there's anything that came to you recently that really made you stop and pause and really made you go, wow, that is an insight that maybe I didn't consider before. Is there anything that comes to mind that really made you pause and go, wow, that's something for me to think about?
Mm. Just today, there's a conflict in my work life, and without disclosing anything confidential, the awareness in me several times this week, but especially today, the poignancy of leadership in a culture where there's been so much abuse of power, and the relationship in the wisdom world that, especially in North American, West, maybe Western European, just how much we can have this ambivalent relationship. We want leaders, we want guides, we want people to help us understand the practices and the tools that can help us. But so many of us have been hurt, and the vulnerability inherent in a leadership, especially if there is a deep emotional or a spiritual component, it's something I've known and certainly been aware of, but there's a new layer of just how vulnerable that relationship can be when our trust is starting to lean into somebody, and yet so many of us have hurts there. So another layer of awareness of that.
Mm. That is a very sensitive topic. Not to sound cliche, but sensitive vulnerability. It really, really is, and I'm glad that you shared it because it does present something that we can all relate to. That fear of, we want to be open and we want to, really embrace everything as fully as we can. Um, and then there's also that fear of, gosh, if I do that, that really puts all of me out there. So it is something to be so aware of and really do a regular check-in with yourself. So thank you so much for sharing that. When you get into those kind of soft and vulnerable, kind of sticky feeling situations, how do you best navigate through them yourself?
That's a good question. One is there's a piece of wisdom in me that leaders get to be human, um, and we all get to be human, including leaders. And sometimes there's a tendency to want to. I'm in a position. I'm really grateful for being increasing leadership, and I get to see that I'm human, and I didn't that thing I said that you took this way was not all how I meant it, and I'm sorry it hurt. Like that dance. So there's an awareness in me of intentionality, like when I say or do or write something. being really mindful of, okay, what is my intentionality of doing or saying or being this particular way? And then the absolute release of control that I have no control how it lands in another person's. I can know, I can deeply search my heart if that hurt or it landed in a way that was different than I intended. And I do want to be somebody who searches there, but to practice as best I can what that intentionality is of that word, that writing, that action, and then releasing the control of how that lands in somebody else and releasing this tendency in me. My background is Jewish, the nice Jewish boy or the nice Jewish guy, right? To release that tendency that I have to get everybody to like me. That has really kept me stuck in my life. And new layers of that awareness of what is it in me that has a hard time if somebody just doesn't resonate or doesn't feel that much affinity. To let go of that and to be aware that all I can control is my intentionality, and some people will feel that and resonate and connect on whatever level, and other people are either going to miss it or not fully get it, or we're just not aligned, and that's okay.
So this kind of flow of that intentionality and awareness and genuine heart-centered guidance along with that release. Really beautiful. Thank you so much.